Hello folks, and welcome to yet another small footprint episode of the Audiophile Man. And what's hitting you between the eyes this particular week? Well, I have a streaming DAC from Auralic called the Vega S1. It's basically an integrated streamer as opposed to, for example, the Aries S1, which is more of a transport requiring a separate DAC. Also, the S1 series as a whole is the budget end of the Auralic product line. So if you have a hankering to dive into the company's products, this is a good entry point to the more expensive G series. Now there's a host of tech features which you can see for yourself in detail in the link below in the description, but they include things like a femto clock, Fusion DAC, direct data recording, which stores up to 512 megabytes of incoming signal in memory and reads it using direct memory access, all to reduce jitter. You get galvanic isolation and a whole heap more. The Vega also handles the usual streaming services and is room ready. There are small control buttons on the top front of the chassis that control the interface on the glass display screen, which is on the front. Here you can see the tracks in play, things like artwork, external sources, volume, and the like. Here too you can play with the settings, some of which I'll talk about in a moment, but others include the usual minutiae such as selecting remote settings, fixed line level settings, and more. Around the back are single-ended and balanced outputs, while inputs include coax, two opticals, USB A and B, plus an Ethernet port for wired connection to the internet, and I use this during the review. You can use the Lightning app, which you can download from the usual places. This can manipulate your digital library, change sources, and so on. I found it easy to install and use. Actually, I found the entire Vega very easy to install and use. Oh, before we go any further, I was also supplied by the company with a S1 Pure Power external power supply, a sort of upgrade power supply. This can be used to take over the power duties from the Vega's own built-in supply and is connected by a rather odd HDMI-like power cable, which, says the company, handles control signals as well as clean power. Both internal and external supplies are controlled with a rocker power switch. I'll talk about the external supply's performance in the sound quality tests. Now, if you buy yourself a Vega, before you get down to some serious listening, do yourself a favor. Spend a bit of time making a few one-off sonic decisions via the settings. Spend, half an hour to an hour sound testing them, and you'll never have to bother with them ever again. The S1 will also be molded more to your own listening parameters, your own listening bias. The selections were easy to do, but I wish the settings font wasn't so micro small. I had to get up close and personal to even see them. And what settings am I babbling on about? Well, firstly, a range of filters. Well, there's the so-called precise, which was rather too bright for my ears. There is one called dynamic. Vocals were better balanced, but the guitars and the piano sounded a little edgy. There is balanced, as it says on the tin, and there is smooth, which I thought damped the music a little bit too much, rolling off the treble and cutting reverb tails. There are also a couple of tone controls. There is clear, which basically switches the tone controls off, and there is mellow, which again over damps the music. So I selected balanced in filter terms, and I selected clear in tone control terms, and that's what I used for this review. Once those decisions were sorted, I proceeded with the sound tests. I began using the Vega as a DAC for my Audiolab 6000 CDT connected via a coax, and I played Neil Young's Zuma album. I compared the Vega with my benchmark DAC, and I was impressed how close the two were in performance terms. Maybe the Vega offered slightly less air and space in the mids, but that would make sense because the DAC is integrated within the S1 chassis and the benchmark is a separate entity sitting in its own chassis. But I was very impressed with the Vega DAC as is. The Vega offered most of the detail, the nuance, and the impact of the high-end benchmark. I could easily live with the Vega as a high-end DAC all on its own. I then turned to streaming services and Qobuz, and I played the new Stereolab album Instant Holograms on metal film. Now, I prefer Qobuz over the other streaming services, but I still hear the sonic restrictions. Even so, I felt that the Vega coped very well with them, masking the lack of dynamic reach in the upper mids very nicely, and softening the restrictions of fragility and delicacy in the treble area. The Vega packaged streaming rather sensibly, I would say, making it acceptable and palatable. Even less than perfect lossy services like, YouTube Music, playing 90s-esque power rock outfit, Harem Scarem's Slow Burn, the Vega turned the YouTube Music service into a kind of pseudo FM radio station, giving it a warming, friendly glow that made listening a real pleasure. I then changed the output type, moving from single-ended to balanced cables, which improved the tonal balance right across the soundstage. In addition, it increased the bass mass and enhanced deep bass, while also retaining upper mid-range detail. I much preferred balanced mode via the Vega, which lowers high-frequency noise in and around the upper frequencies. I thought this would be a good time to now add the external power supply via that rather strange HDMI power cable. And the sonic result? Wow. I think wow is a good description of the performance. Make no mistake, adding the power supply, the external power supply, is a major upgrade in sound quality terms. Sound seems to relax for the first time, as if, before the upgrade, everyone was a little bit tense and stressed. Not now. The soundstage lifted vertically and in depth, a kind of 3D image terms. There was far more space in between the band members, between vocals and instruments now, which only increased and enhanced detail retrieval. If you are able, in budget terms, buy the Vega with the external power supply. Don't wait to upgrade later. It's that impressive. Otherwise, get saving. Finally, I ran my laptop as a music source via my Twonky Server and compared the Vega with my Melco N50 Transport and Benchmark DAC combo. Now, of course, this combo is much more expensive than the Vega. It also takes up a whole lot more room in footprint terms. Sonically, I played I Will Not Hide from the Doves at 24-bit 96K because you're looking at a digital transport and separate DAC reference from the Melco and the Benchmark, and both of these sat at a much higher price point. The Vega, by comparison, did lose some finesse and space around the soundstage. Subtlety and nuance was improved on the Melco and the Benchmark combo. But really, well, the Vega did remarkably well for the price. You've got to remember that difference in price. There was the emotion in the vocal delivery from the Vega, the subtle acoustic guitar fingerpicking from the Vega, and those big percussive slams, the layered detail across the soundstage, and the impressive instrumental separation. I have to say, the differences between the two systems was largely the result of careful A/B testing. The Vega performed wonderfully and, at first glance, was near enough not to matter for casual listening. And that's basically the review of the Auralic S1 Vega streaming DAC. Let me give you a few final thoughts, have a few of those. I'll give you some pros and cons and a rating. Now, what I liked about the Auralic S1 Vega streaming DAC was how it treated substandard music sources. They were never embarrassed by the S1 Vega. They were always treated with a sense of respect, and they always sounded attractive. Better quality sources, of course, merely opened the sonic doors previously closed to the lower quality sources, which is how it should be. The sheer variety of sound sources that can be pushed through the Vega is impressive indeed, and I only looked at a few. Hence, the flexibility from this system is very impressive. Finally, the general sound quality, especially with balanced play and that external power supply, all of that screams value for money. In short, the Auralic S1 Vega power supply upgrade combo, it's a complete steal even at this price. It is, in fact, a complete digital solution, which is why I have no hesitation in giving the S1 Vega a 9 out of 10 and a deeply groovy congratulations to Auralic. And that's a lot, folks. Thanks for staying to the end of this particular video. Before you go, can you click just down below on the like and subscribe buttons, please? Just helps the old channel. Also downstairs, there are links to the S1 Vega itself. Also, there are links to my Patreon page, which has the exclusive hi-fi news, etc. video on a regular basis, and there are buyer's guides and other videos and music related stuff and all kinds of. Have a little browse, and there is a link to my Facebook group you're welcome to join, and my website. Check that out, all kinds of stuff over there. I'll be back Friday or Saturday with something music alertsy or maybe something hi-fi newsy. I ain't sure just yet, but I'd like to have your company nevertheless. Until then, folks, bye bye for now.